Football season is upon us, so as a sports videographer who's shot a lot of amateur and pro football through the years, I thought it would be a good idea to reveal to you guys my 3 favorite accessories to film a football game. And I might even add a couple of shooting tips at the end of the video. Number 1 on my list is an item I already reviewed on this channel. It's the Portkeys LH7P field monitor that I believe to be the ideal monitor for filming sports. There are several reasons for that. The main one is that it's one of the rare monitors on the market that allows you to adjust all the exposure settings, the white balance, and more importantly, your focus straight on the monitor itself. You can literally touch anywhere on the screen with your finger, and the area or subject that you touch will be in focus just as fast as if you did it directly in camera. That feature is a true game changer, which is something I realized firsthand the very first time I got to use this monitor while I was on assignment filming a football game for the CFL in Ottawa.
My assignment was to film a particular player, Austin Mack, who turned out to be injured. A few hours before the game, we learned that he wasn't playing. So the assignment changed a little bit, but I was basically filming particular players, like 2 on each side. So that monitor was very helpful, actually, the focus thing, because when you're filming, especially football, if you're trying to focus on one particular player, there's a lot of people getting your shot. So as soon as the players would line up, I would just touch screen on the one that I'm about to follow. Focus would stick to him, and I would just follow him, whether he's rushing or DB or whatever the case may be. 90% of the time, everything would go well. Obviously, if the play sort of comes in his direction, there's tons of flyers sort of passing me by. Sometimes focus would move away. And the one thing that's a bit annoying is that, like, because I was filming handheld, and if you're on the tripod and you're moving, it's easy to just touch back. But if you're handheld and you're filming, like, it's hard to touch the monitor while, you know, trying to follow at some point you're running out of hands. So if you're not using a tripod or a monopod, it becomes a bit sketch.
But the good news is, the next item on my list solves that exact problem. My next favorite accessory to film football games is something I recently discovered and fell in love with. It's the iFootage Cobra 3 monopod and Komodo K5S fluid head combo. The first time I took this setup to a CFL football game, what stood out immediately was the fluidity. The base of the Cobra 3 combined with the Komodo K5S gives you butterly smooth pans and tilts that almost feels like you're using a gimbal. But unlike a gimbal, this thing is super fast. You can reposition, track the action, and adjust heights in seconds. That kind of flexibility is gold when plays are breaking fast and you need to stay ahead of the game. In the lock position, you can literally use it as a tripod. Because of its wide base, you don't even need to hold this monopod for it to stay up. The monopod also transforms into a hi-hat tripod in seconds, and that low-angle setup is perfect for cinematic football videos. I was never a monopod guy. I always liked the concept of a monopod, but every single one I used before this one felt like it was limiting me in my camera movements. But the iFootage Cobra 3 is honestly perfect. It's lightweight, it's smooth, and it's built for the sidelines. Before I move on to my third favorite accessory for football videography, I just want to give a quick honorable mention to the DJI RS4 Gimbal. Gimbals are typically not ideal to film tight football action shots because they're not responsive enough for the speed of the game. But if there's one gimbal that is robust and fast enough to film a complete football game with, it's definitely the DJI RS4. First of all, it is really responsive, especially when you set the follow speed to fast, which I definitely recommend for football. By the way, I also prefer to use the PF mode because it's a lot easier to follow the action and keep the ball in frame when the camera cannot tilt up or down by itself. But ultimately, the plus value of using a gimbal versus a monopod is that they are great at capturing hero shots in pre-game and wide dynamic shots during the game. The last accessory I want to talk about before I give you my football filming tips is the most crucial accessory for outdoor sports. I'm talking, of course, about variable ND filters. Okay, so ND filters are basically sunglasses for your lens. They limit the amount of light going into your lens so that you don't have to crank your shutter speed and your aperture way up when filming outside. Which is why with this filter on, I can have these nice blurry backgrounds behind me. And just for your sake, this is what it looks like without it. Not so great. And also for your benefit, here's what it looks like with an ND filter on the left and what it looks like properly exposed but without an ND on the right. But here's the thing, a standard ND filter only blocks a very specific amount of light. So for example, these ones, this is a 3 stops and this is a 5 stops. But what a variable ND does is that it allows you to control exactly the amount of light that you want to let into your lens simply by turning it to the right or to the left. Each increment is called a stop for stop of light, and each stop of light is twice as dark as the previous one. So 1 stop lets in half of the light that you would get if there was no ND at all, 2 stops lets in a quarter of the light, 3 stops lets in an eighth, and so on. My first filming tip is to keep your shots fairly wide. I personally do that because I like to do a lot of tracking in post. I like to track passes, I like to track players running with the ball, and to do an effective tracking effect, you need to have your subject in frame at all times. This can be very tricky if you're filming real tight, but by being a bit wider, it gives us a bit more room to play with and guarantees that the ball will always be in frame, therefore helping us achieve a much better result with our tracking effects. My next tip is to film for the most part from a low angle. Because football videos are all about making players look like freaking gladiators, and shooting from a low angle always makes your subject look bigger, stronger, and more dominant. Not only that, but it also gives the viewers a perspective that they rarely get during a traditional football broadcast. And for that reason, it pulls them in straight away and makes them feel like they're part of the action. For more tips about gear, mostly for beginners but also for pros, make sure to watch the video appearing on your screen right now, and I will see you guys there.